Welcome to another episode of Game Boy Roulette, where we take a look at randomly chosen games from the Game Boy library.
Prince of Persia. Shoot, where did I leave my Sands of Time? If you've ever wondered about the origin story of the Prince of Persia, well, wonder no more. It all dates back to 1989, when a developer named Jordan Mechner made the original Prince of Persia game. Focusing on more realistic cinematic platforming, the graphics of the game stood out, as Mechner filmed his younger brother doing acrobatic moves in a white robe and rotoscoped it, which when you say it out loud sounds a little bit creepy. You played as the titular prince on a quest to save the kingdom from the evil Jafar. Yep, same source material as that other Jafar. The game was popular enough to get ported absolutely everywhere, including to the Game Boy by veteran developer and publisher Virgin Games. What makes this series amazing is that it's not often you see a game with such a humble beginning go on to be a powerhouse like this one became. Prince of Persia was essentially a pioneer in the field of indie games, being made by essentially one person to begin, but it slowly worked its way up, getting games made by Broderbund, Mindscape, and Gameloft before Ubisoft acquired the franchise and turned it into quite the big name, starting with the Sands of Time trilogy and still going to this day, with even a big movie under its belt. But it all began as a rotoscoped platformer, a straight port of which is what we have on the table today. The box art kinda looks like a romance novel, and for that reason, I love it. The damsel in distress, the evil villain leering, the hero facing off with a mostly naked guard, the moon in the background. It's like one giant cliche in all the best ways. Also, props to Jordan for getting his name front and center. So, how does this game hold up when handheld? Flip your hourglass for Sands of Time. By Jordan Mechner. Man, he put his name all over this, and good on him. Virgin Games, Nintendo, Broderbund. Yep, all what I was expecting. Ooh. This is close to being really good music, but the problem is, there's that Prince of Persia. Let's see how it all began, kinda. In the Sultan's absence, the Grand Vizier Jafar rules with an iron fist. Okay, the daughter. Alright, so it's the same story as all the other ones. What? Oh god. I hit start and... What? Okay, and we can only go up from there. There we go. Alright, so let's see how this game holds up. Ow. Whoop. Ow. Okay. What is that noise? So, B to step forward lightly. A to jump. Hold up and A to go up. No. Oh, we're fine. What is that? Oh, God. I'm just going to assume that is a emulator error. Because, boy, that sounds awful. So, the gimmick of Prince of Persia, it's a big maze, each level is. What? Huh? Okay, it's a big, confusing maze. So yeah, it's full of traps, and basically you make a little bit of progress each time until you learn what to do. Oh, and there's sword fighting. I'm sure there's a way you can sword fight. Okay, hang on. I just have to look up. Is this an emulator issue? This noise? Okay, yes. As far as I can tell, that tone is an emulator error, because other versions of the game recorded directly off the Game Boy don't seem to have that. So I won't hold that against the game. There's other stuff I'll hold against it. No! Is there a way to take out my sword? Do I have a sword? I think I have to find the sword. So here's the real big thing I wanted to talk about with Prince of Persia. It is simultaneously a great and terrible game. It's great because it started so much. There is so much of gaming that can sort of have its origins traced back to the Prince of Persia. Realistic platforming, parkour-style platforming, the graphics. I mean, these graphics, especially for the Game Boy, look phenomenal. But also, It's really, really awkward to play, especially if you don't know what you're doing. You just have to jump into it each time and keep playing and just slowly chip away at it. And you know what? For a lot of people, that's not something they want. That looks like a sword. That was lovely. See, in my own personal opinion, I prefer platformers that are quick and punchy and, you can move around really well. And so I never really got along with Prince of Persia. See? However, I don't want to hold my past against this game. So I'm going to talk about it more. I want to talk about it more as, how is it doing the Prince of Persia experience? And so far, it is doing it properly. It is, in fact, playing like the original Prince of Persia. And it looks like the original Prince of Persia, too. They did manage to convert the game to the Game Boy pretty... I'm sure there's a reason I didn't jump there, but science may never know why. I've never liked Prince of Persia. I've always found it awkward and boring. The fact that you have to keep running around and keep running around and keep running around until maybe you make a tiny bit of progress and then one mistake sends you flying back to the start of the stage. It's like the antithesis of everything I want in a platformer. But for a lot of people, they're like, yes, this is exactly what I want in a platformer. And you know what? More power to ya. In that case, this version of Prince of Persia will work for ya. Let's at least see if we can get to the sword fight. You all heard how much I was mashing the button there. But yeah, Prince of Persia is a very polarizing game. It all comes down to personal taste. And in this case, if you like Prince of Persia, you'll like this. Unfortunately, I don't like Prince of Persia, so I'm just gonna go ahead and hurl this game off of a mountaintop. Well, if it did everything right, why am I still angry? I'm gonna have to put my personal feelings aside for a bit to review this game, because as a technical achievement, and in a vacuum, I really do have a lot of respect for this port for doing everything correctly. They didn't skimp on anything in the game. It looked, ran, and played exactly like the original Prince of Persia, which is a hard thing to do with a port like this. Especially with the rotoscoped animation, it was surprisingly smooth for the handheld. So many games have had to make big sacrifices to play properly on the Game Boy, but here they didn't make any, bringing everything that made Prince of Persia to the small screen. But that's where my personal problem comes in. I kinda sorta hate Prince of Persia, and always have. This is all entirely subjective, but I've always found the original Prince of Persia's attempts at cinematic platforming to be really awkward and unfun. Buttons feel like they don't work, basic jumps can kill you, it's extremely difficult to do something as simple as step forward. It all makes for a game that I could never play for more than a few minutes before getting too bored and frustrated to continue. I guess it's meant to be a game that you learn over time. The 60-minute time limit for the full game probably enforces that, but it's not something I want to learn. I want to have fun, and Prince of Persia has just never done that for me. Does that make this a bad game? No. What it does is make it Prince of Persia, for better and for worse. So if you love Prince of Persia, this is the game for you, but if you don't, the Game Boy version isn't going to change anything for you. I guess Jafar is going to win this round. Wait, canonically, is this the same guy? That's a hell of a crossover.
And that's all for another episode of Game Boy Roulette. Make sure to like the video, comment, and subscribe to follow the series as we continue to dig through the Game Boy vault. I'm Brian J, and I'll see you next time.